Ever since the Supreme Court gave the green light to cities to criminalize homelessness, we've been seeing a surge of harassment and criminalization, particularly in encampments across the country. But one program is out here teaching us about actual solutions to solving homelessness. My name is Brittany Page, and this is the Page Perspective. Before we get into this, I want to say, if you click to watch this video, thank you. I talk a lot about policy, especially related to poverty, homelessness, harm reduction, things that have been very relevant to my work as a therapist, but these things aren't always the things that get a lot of clicks and views. So by you clicking on this and watching it, it helps to amplify the message in the algorithm so this video can find the right people who are also interested in learning about or who care about these things and amplifying the message. So one, thank you. Thank you so much for being here. And two, please make sure that you are subscribed. I would really appreciate it. Now, I've done several videos on homelessness, and you can feel free to go back and watch those anytime by searching my channel. I want to focus specifically on encampments and the recent wave we've seen post Supreme Court decision in Grants Pass v. Johnson of cities across the country criminalizing homelessness and clearing encampments, oftentimes without giving proper notice or without giving a meaningful or feasible offer of shelter. I recently read this article in the Seattle Times. Washington found a better way to remove homeless encampments. Will it stick? And this fantastic reporting is from a reporter, Greg Kim. And I will link to this in the description below, as always. The focus of the article is on a program called Co-Lead. And according to the article, it is a program created by Purpose Dignity Action, which is a Seattle nonprofit working with the state's Encampment Resolution Program. I want to start by telling you how successful this program has been before we get into the things that they are doing to be successful. And I guess I want you to also imagine what they could be doing to help drive the success of keeping people who were previously living in encampments stably housed. I'll tell you right now, it isn't handcuffs. It isn't tickets for sleeping outside. And it isn't kicking the can down the road and simply removing poverty from visible areas. But we'll get to that in a moment. First, the numbers. Quote, since 2022, Washington has closed 47 encampments in 5 counties, bringing more than 70% of people from them, 1,200 people, inside. In King County, the state's Encampment Resolution Program has closed 18 encampments, moving about 90% of people from them inside, more than 420 people. 2 years in, the state's Encampment Resolution Program has kept 74% of people who came inside from encampments housed. 74% of people who came inside from encampments are still housed. This is a huge achievement. And this organization did this by offering stable housing with intensive case management services. And they've done several things to ensure success, which are highlighted in this article by specifically featuring one story from one man, Garrett Hahn, his wife, and his dog, Tux, who were struggling with homelessness and who had moved from encampment to encampment 5 times in 1 year. Here's what Co-Lead did to help get Garrett out of encampments and into shelter. Co-Lead ensured that his family could stay together. This means his partner, as well as his dog. Many shelters do not allow families to stay together and often do not allow pets. By allowing families to stay together and allowing pets to come with you, you increase the odds that someone will take you up on the offer of shelter. Another thing that they did, Co-Lead ensured that he would have access to drug treatment, and this includes harm reduction, meaning that he could still use while in the shelter. There was a specific area for smoking or drug use, which operated as a safe consumption site. Safe consumption sites are more common in places outside of the United States, but these are sites where people can use drugs under the supervision of trained staff to ensure that they do not overdose and that they remain safe. They serve multiple purposes, from getting people connected to services to preventing drug paraphernalia in the streets or just saving lives. Garrett was reassured that he could get the help he needed and it wouldn't require him to stop using before he could get housed. Co-Lead also ensures the staff is trained on de-escalation techniques so that they can address any conflicts that do arise outside of the encampments and in the housing. But what really sealed the deal for Garrett was this, quote, "But what really persuaded Han to move inside was the promise of a pathway after temporary shelter." Quote, "Co-lead staff said Han would soon be able to move on to the subsidized permanent housing with a 1-year lease, get help with obtaining addiction treatment, navigate his legal history, and get back on his feet with a job. Without those assurances," he said, "he would have likely moved down the street." Quote, "It's more of a life rehab than a shelter," Han said. Yes, yes, yes. Because sometimes people feel that they have reached this point that is so low that they don't even know where to begin. So we need organizations that step in and say, we're going to help you rebuild. Now, the problem is you start to have a program that's working, that's doing really well, and the funding starts slipping away. Quote, "The state has reduced its funding for its encampment resolution program each year since it began, from $144 million in 2023 to $70 million in 2025. And budget leaders in the legislature indicate that they may continue to cut. Whatever happens in the future of this new encampment removal model," the state housing policy director said, "the program proved that addressing homelessness is a matter of desire." Quote, "We know how to bring people inside. People can argue about whether they want to do that or not, but they can't say that we don't know how." And this is always the case. We know what works, and it isn't handcuffs. It isn't arrests. It isn't ticketing. It is treating the people who are living outside like the human beings that they are, knowing that they have worth, working to build relationships with them over time, working with them to see what they need help with to remain stably housed, and ensuring that help comes through. And most importantly, funding the kind of work that makes this happen. And that comes down to politics, my friends. Everything is political. And I know that it says poverty is a policy choice right behind me here. And that's true, but we can go further because everything is a policy choice. Given the ongoing housing affordability crisis in this country, this is an issue we should all care about. We know how to get people stably housed. So let's stop with the myths that people want to live outside, that they choose it, that they must have made a bad decision and now they have to live with it. Enough. Solutions. Focus on the solutions and the people making it happen. What do you think? Call me and tell me at 657-464-7609 or send an email to idoubtit@dollemore.com. You can support my work here on YouTube by becoming a channel member for as little as $1.99 a month or by going to patreon.com/idoubtitpodcast. Please help me amplify this message by sharing this video on your social media or with a friend. And please make sure you're subscribed. Thank you so much for being here. Take care, and I will see you next time.